Hello and welcome to another live talk about our favorite topic of language learning. And today, as usual, what we're going to do is talk about the topic that I announced ahead of time, and then we will have some time for questions and comments from you. I'm live on YouTube and Instagram, so I will look at both streams. So if you don't see your question being answered straight away, be patient and I will do my best to get to them as quickly as I possibly can. So first of all, remember to like the videos when you see them, to subscribe to the channels, and to make sure that you show the algorithm that you like what I do, and also it shows me that you like what I do, which is really quite nice. And if you're interested at any point in sort of more help with your own personal language learning, I am a great believer in personalized language learning, and that we have to take the whole person to figure out what works best for every individual. And I'm very happy to work with you as well on an individual basis. There are some links to my Patreon page, and through there we can be in communication, talk on a one-to-one level, and I can help you with your own language learning journey. So feel free to reach out. So today I want to talk about holidays and language learning, and I think we're getting to that period now, particularly in Europe, the northern hemisphere, particularly in the northern hemisphere, where we are getting ready for the summer holiday. Obviously, this is in places like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the in Argentina and places like that, where it's going to be the winter, and you'll be getting ready for just the winter holidays. Might be a bit different, but in the northern hemisphere, we'll have long summer holidays usually, and we're thinking about where we can go and what we can do. And as I suspected, the people that answered the question that I posed, how does it affect your language learning? Often you come back with a desire to learn a new language, which I think is completely reasonable. Why not? I mean, I went and spent some time in Bali a few years ago and came back with a Balinese book with every intention of learning some Balinese. Hasn't happened yet, but I think that's a normal thing. You sort of, if you like languages and you're interested in understanding how things work, then you tend to buy these things and you hope that you're going to learn them and go with them at some point. So yeah, I get that. The other thing though is that with language learning, and this is one thing that I practice myself, is I do my best to try and get my studies and my holidays aligned, or my trips abroad aligned, should I say. So let's say, for example, with the Polyglot conference happening in Mexico, finally, we're going to be going to Mexico. I would really like to get some some Nahuatl. I know I already speak Spanish, so that's not a problem. But where we're going to be in Mexico is Cholula, and there are people who speak Nahuatl there, and I really would like to learn some before I go. And so I'm not going to go crazy and try and learn like fluent Nahuatl. I'm not that ambitious or sort of out of touch with my real workload. But what I can do is go to the Zaloa website and sign up for the course and do the basic course there, which will probably take me to a point where I can go to the market and have some nice interactions. What I find with those kinds of interactions is that it really adds to the experience of being in the place, particularly when you talk about languages that are sort of these indigenous languages that often get overlooked by people visiting the country. We would tend to say, "Oh, Mexico learns Spanish," and yeah, that makes absolute sense. If you don't speak Spanish, of course, it's going to be a really useful lingua franca all across Mexico, and there are a number of indigenous languages in Mexico, so it might not be 100% obvious. how or which language you're going to use. And in Cholula, though, you can use Nahuatl. So I'm going to have a go at doing that for October, but I have months and months and months to prepare. And I tend to do this generally because I am a bit of a planner when it comes to my trips, usually, unless somebody throws something onto me, like, to speak at an event or to do something off, sort of, unplanned. But I always feel that kind of feeling of guilt, I guess, not knowing the language well enough or not knowing the language of a place I'm going to. And I always need to know something of the language. I don't know, do you ever feel that as well? Where you go somewhere and you want to know more, or you want to know something, or you come away wanting to know more. I know a number of you wrote and said that you felt that way as well, and that sometimes some of you also do what I do, and when you plan a trip, or you plan the trip based on your studies, you go to a place where the language is spoken. And I've definitely done that too, and that's a really good thing. I'm just going to stop 1 second and say, if you like what I'm saying, if you like this video, if you like what I'm doing, please do remember to like and to subscribe. I know I'm starting to mention that more often now, and I guess I see that because I keep getting these comments saying, why don't you why don't your videos get more likes? I really liked it, and then if you don't like it, then okay, don't. But at the same time, if you do, please do like it. I have more people watching on YouTube than I have likes, so please do like it. Helps the algorithm. It helps me to see that you're enjoying it as well. And I'm going to actually keep my side of this quite short today. I want to spend more time with you, answering your questions, looking at your comments, and going through it. But I wanted to raise this as a thing. I'd love to hear as well about any things that you're doing in the summer, and what are your plans? What are you going to be doing over the summer months for the Northern Hemisphere, or for the Antipodeans out there? What are you going to be doing during the winter months? Have you got any plans? Have you got anywhere you're going or doing anything, or are you planning for your summer in our winter? I'd love to hear all of that stuff. But I will go back through. I've seen quite a lot of messages coming through already, so I want to make sure I get through as many as I can. I'm going to start on YouTube today, and then I'll come back to the Instagram messages. So if you don't hear me answering your questions straight away, it's because I'm making my way through them, and I'll do my best to be as quick as I can. So bună ziua, Tiffany. Ce faci? Goedenavond, iedereen. Goedenavond. Oh, Timothy, thank you for. I just saw your messages there before we even went live. Привіт, Richarde. Jak tobie podobaється українська mova? Oh, unfortunately, not that well, Timothy. So I actually had a little bit of an accident a couple of weeks ago after I started learning Ukrainian, and it's really slowed me down. So I've not been um, as quick on it as possible as I could have been. So yeah, unfortunately, not that well. But I have been trying to just look at it for even a few minutes a day, so that what I did do doesn't go away completely. And my hope is that I'm going to be able to make more of an effort with it this coming week. I'm feeling a lot better now, and a lot more able to focus on other things. Otherwise, I just have a very busy week, and being slowed down didn't help with taking on an additional language for another project. But yeah, fingers crossed this week will be the week that I get back into it. Let me see. Hi, Richard. How are you? Are you talking from Skopje? Can you turn up the volume by chance? There isn't a volume that I have. I just have speakers. I don't know how I can potentially turn it up, but yes, I'll do my best. I don't. I'm not sure how to do it. Can you all hear me okay? Does it sound okay to you? I'm not sure. I get odd comments like this, but then other people say it sounds fine, so I never know what to do. I can try with a microphone at some point again, with an external microphone, but usually with meetings and things, this works fairly well just from the computer. But I will definitely look into that if it is a problem. Let me see. Okay, hi Timothy. Can you? Okay. Oh, yeah, hello Timothy. Well, Timothy's more. I think Timothy is more popular than I am on this on this live. I love it. Timothy's a great guy. If you are not following Timothy, by the way, I definitely would advise you to do that, particularly on Twitter. He's um, he's really good at encouraging people. Super positive, really nice person, and great language learner. So yeah, absolutely. Ask Timothy anything you like as well. I know Hindi, but I also swear kind of Hindi spoken in Suriname, South America. People are very surprised. Wow, Alphonse, I had no idea about that at all. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's. I imagine people are surprised when you speak that language. I don't know Pashto. Bahut acha. Okay, I'm reading the conversation with Timothy now. um, Tiffany, I spent 2 months bouncing around Europe, finishing up in Romania to celebrate my 40th birthday. Tiffany, that sounds like a wonderful trip. And what a great way to mark your 40th birthday. So I'm really excited to hear lots more about that. And during our sessions, I think that'd be fantastic to hear more about that. I'm looking forward to your presentation on that as well. So Tiffany is in one of the language learning groups with me, and she's very graciously agreed to present on what her plans will be for her trip to Romania and talk about the Romanian places of interest as well. So it's kind of a linguistic and cultural exercise that I've set, and she's very you know very positive and very good at taking on these challenges. So I'm very much looking forward to hearing all about that next week. I get why people say that learning Spanish, French, German, Russian, and Chinese Mandarin is profitable if they work in tourism, but where I live, there's an increased demand for lesser learned languages. Yes, Svetlana, that often is true. I heard people say that in other parts of the world too, that actually there is a real need to speak some other languages that don't tend to be studied as widely by people. And that really speaks to me. I agree. I'd love to go to Scandinavia this summer, Sweden, Norway, Denmark. Oh wow! So you're going to learn, Tomek, you're going to learn one of those languages, or you're going to practice one of those languages in particular. I mean, you can get away with speaking one of them, I guess, and Danish is probably the one that's the hardest to just have a very free flowing conversation backwards and forwards with the other two. But otherwise, yeah, that's probably so cool. Anywhere in particular in those places you're going to? I sound fine. Thank you, Yoga Bliss. I appreciate you saying that. Richard, sorry that I've missed the Thursday session. I had a lesson to go to live on that day. No worries, Yoga Bliss. I will see you next week. I hope. I look forward to seeing you. You always brighten my day, so yeah, I look forward to seeing you when you can make it. I'm seeing job adverts for people that speak lesser learned languages to translate and interpret materials, help at the police, and work in nursing homes to help patients with dementia. So, Lana, yes, that really is something I've noticed as well. In fact, people are always surprised when I say that, when I started looking for work after French, Spanish, and German, actually, some of the more popular languages that companies would look for in Europe were like Swedish and Dutch. And even though people say, oh, they all speak good English, but to do work, actually, people were often looking for speakers who spoke the other languages or English and those languages. So yeah, that makes sense to me completely. I went to visit Sergei Republic in Karelia in Russia. Wow. So I'm learning another minor language, Karelian, similar to Finnish. Unfortunately, the language is dying. Oh dear, yeah. Karelian, I don't think is doing amazingly well. So it's really good that you're making an effort to learn it, Alphonse. I like that you're doing that. Do you speak in another language when you dream? So I dream basically, and the things depending on where I am and with whom I'm speaking, the dream is in a mixture of languages. So it really depends. I mean, a lot of my dreams more recently, I guess, are in the Balkans. So it tends to be Balkan languages mainly that I speak in my dreams, but it can be a mix, really. Okay. Listen to yes more. I'm hesitating between flying to Copenhagen and then traveling by train or going to Scandinavia by car. I would love to do Hamburg, Copenhagen, Malmö, Gothenburg, Oslo, Stockholm, Karlsruhe, and Gdynia. Oh, very nice. Gdynia and Gdansk I like a lot as well on the way back. I like that. Yeah, the tri-state area, as they call it, right, in Poland. And get the boat to hell. If anybody's ever so Gdynia, Gdansk are like a part of Poland in the north, and there's a little island called Hell, Hel, and you can go get the boat to hell, and you can go. So you can say you've been to hell and back. Um, just something a lot of backpackers like quite find fun. I did it. I found it fun. But the other places, Copenhagen, I find absolutely gorgeous. I really like Copenhagen. Malmö, I've never visited. I've studied at the university online, but I've never visited. Hamburg, I've not visited either. Gothenburg, I have. Oslo and Stockholm, I have. And Karlsruhe, I haven't visited either. But sounds like a great trip. There's some really good cities in there, and I'd love to hear how you get on with them. Let me see. I'm going to go to have a look at what are the comments now on Instagram. So I'll come back to YouTube afterwards, just to make sure that I'm catching the questions. So yeah, please remember that if you're on this video, please do like it, subscribe. I have more people watching on YouTube than I have likes, so please do like it if you're watching on YouTube and you are enjoying it. Also on Instagram, please do send me a like, show me those little hearts, and make sure that you subscribe as well, to so that I come up for you as a recommended thing to watch, and also so that you don't miss out on these lives in the future. But yes, thank you very much for showing me your love. I really appreciate it. I have been doing these lives now for how long? Oh my word, like nearly a year and a half, 2 years. I do them every week. But if you do want to have specific time with me to talk about your own personal journey with language learning, you're very, very welcome to join me on Patreon, and I'm very happy to help. Just reach out. The link should be it's on the Speaking Fluently website, if nowhere else, speakingfluently.com, and you can click the Patreon icon there. Okay, let me see. I see a zdravo, zdravo. Nice. Kazakhstan'dan selamlar ve saygılar. Çok teşekkür ederim. Ben Kazakça hiç konuşamam ama Türkçe iyi mi? Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, that was written in Turkish, so hopefully that makes sense to you. Merhaba, nasılsınız? İyiyim, teşekkür ederim. Siz nasılsınız? İyi misiniz? Evet, buradayım. Evet, çok iyi bir hafta sonuydu. Eee, eee, je vis en Arizona. OK. Le mois prochain, je vais en Pennsylvanie pour une semaine. L'été prochain, je re je retournerai en France, à Montpellier. Ah, c'est bien. Bah, tu as appris, tu fait quoi? Tu as fait l'anglais, tu vas faire quelque chose avec, l'allemand pennsylvanien ou quelque chose comme ça? Ou c'est quoi en français déjà? Le néerlandais pennsylvanien, je sais pas. Pennsylvania Dutch en anglais, je crois que c'est Dutch, hein. On dit pas on dit allemand aussi peut-être? Je sais pas, je me suis confondu. Enfin oui, mais c'est cool, hein. Tu t'es bien amusé là-bas? Okay. Hello, hello. Nice to see the hellos. If all goes well, my fiance should be here this summer, and my Tunisian will improve drastically. Lisa, I am looking forward to that for you. Absolutely. You've been doing so well with your Tunisian Arabic, and yeah, I think your tenacity is just super duper. I think it's great. I'm really excited for you. And I think your Tunisian Arabic will absolutely fly when he's over. What mentally changes can you notice nowadays due to all languages you can speak and maintain? Oh, like in my brain. So the thing that I find more and more is the links from one language to another between languages. I find that more and more that I can't hear words without trying to make connections in some way, whether they're etymological connections, phonological connections, or links between different types of grammar and how they work. I just find that the links are always there, and I really enjoy doing that. Yeah. What's your Ukrainian word of the day for us? That's a nice idea, isn't it? Maybe I should have a Ukrainian word of the day that might help. I don't have one for today. I've not studied any Ukrainian today yet. I've been doing it in the evening because the days are pretty crazy at the moment. But I've been doing it in the evening, and I'll have a look. And I might that might be a really good way of tackling my Ukrainian and giving myself some more stability with it. Yeah, after the kind of the break that I've had. Yeah, but thank you. That's a good idea. Dutch, néerlandais. Ah oui, c'est ça ce qu'on dit, hein. On dit le néerlandais, Pennsylvania Dutch, parce que c'est vraiment, je crois que c'est en fait, on dit en anglais Dutch, mais je crois que c'est comme Deutsch, Dutch, et on l'a transformé en fait. Et je crois que c'est vraiment l'allemand, mais je savais pas si on disait aussi en néerlandais en français. J'ai jamais entendu parler de ça en français en fait, c'est la première fois. Bah, merci. Tu l'as pris quand même? En fait, la question, c'était ça. Tu as essayé de l'apprendre un peu? Ou, tu as rencontré quelqu'un? Ou tu veux rencontrer quelqu'un là-bas? Hem, Let me see. Okay. Pennsylvania Dutch is actually Deutsch. That's exactly what I thought, Lisa. Thank you. I can't believe I just said that and you wrote it. Great minds think alike. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. That's why I hesitated in French, and my natural reaction in French was to say German, because in my head in English, when I say Pennsylvania Dutch, I don't know, I just had this automatic, they don't mean Dutch, they mean Deutsch, which is German. And then when I translated it into French in my head, well, when I thought about the whole idea in French, it just naturally came out as German. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's interesting. I've never looked at what that's called in French before. I don't think I've ever spoken about Pennsylvania Dutch in any other language except English because it's spoken in the US. So, I mean, the language you hear about it in is English very often. Selam, Necesiz. Do you speak Azerbaijani language? Hayır ama anlıyorum çünkü ben Türkçe öğrendim. Burada Makedonya'da, Üsküp'te Türkçe burada üçüncü dildir ve bu yüzden merkezde Türkçe kullanıyorum. Ama Azerce, evet, iyice anlıyorum ama hiçbir defa öğrenmedim. Bir gün. It's nice to know someone who is helpful to people like you. Thank you very much. You're very kind. Do you speak Kazakh? Not yet. I would love to learn Kazakh. I went to Kazakhstan and I visited a friend of mine, Amir Ordabayev, who is on YouTube and on Instagram and everywhere else. And we spent a week together in Almaty, and I loved it there. I thought the people were lovely, and I bought lots of books for Kazakh. In fact, I'm going to be really geeky and get them off my shelf to show you. So just hold it 1 second, and I'll get them for you. They're here somewhere. Here we go. So here they are. So I got this one. And then I got these two. I was all very excited about learning Kazakh. So I decided I was going to learn Kazakh, and then I haven't touched them. They just sit on my desk, on the shelf. And I also went to, where's the other book? Oh, here's the other book. So I also went to Kyrgyzstan, and I bought the Kyrgyz book as well because I couldn't resist a Kyrgyz book, and I still haven't really done anything with them except for buy them. I feel a bit guilty for not having done that, but I recognize also that I bought them more because I didn't know when I was going to be able to buy books about these languages, so I just bought them. And yeah, and they're both Turkic languages. So Alphonse, yeah. So I mean, look, they're not completely alien to me, but they're still. I mean, they're as far from Turkish as they could be. Azeri is closer. Azeri is a lot easier for me to understand. But I do understand something when they say something or write something in Kazakh or Kyrgyz. I don't, but I can't. Nothing major. I mean, it's like it's basic things that I could possibly get. But yeah, hopefully one day I'd love to. I have Pennsylvanian Dutch from the on dirait un dialecte allemand. Oui, oui, c'est ça en fait ce que je voulais dire, oui. C'est bizarre, hein? Un dialecte bas allemand. Oui, c'est ça. Bas allemand, oui, c'est ça en fait. Je n'ai pas compris la question. La question c'était est-ce que tu veux l'apprendre? Est-ce que tu veux la pratiquer là-bas? La langue, en fait, je veux dire. I've come back from, or okay. I've come back or I came back. So you can use both in English. I came back home yesterday, um, or I've come back already, as in like no time. You can't use I've come back with a time. You have to use I came back with a time. That's kind of one of the big differences between those in English. By the way, what's today's topic? Today's topic was about holidays and languages and learning and how it affects your language learning and how your language learning affects your holidays, I guess, as well for some people. Türkçeniz harika. Çok teşekkür ederim. Çok naziksin. Çok teşekkür ederim. Evet. Yes, you know Amir. Yeah, Amir's lovely. How do you like it in Kazakhstan? I thought Kazakhstan was wonderful. I found the food actually really tasty. I thought the people were extremely welcoming and friendly. I thought that as a country, it's really pretty. I really, really liked it. I want to go back to Kazakhstan. I'd love to go back. So fingers crossed, hopefully I'll get back there at some time soon. How about Persian? Can you speak Persian fluently? No. Persian is beautiful, and I would love to be able to speak it. But I don't even, I wouldn't even say I speak it, let alone speak it fluently. One day, though, who knows? I would love to. I understand quite a few words from Persian because I've studied Turkish, and in Macedonian, my home language, we have over 6,000 Turkish words, and many of those Turkish words are actually the words that we have are of other linguistic origins. So many from Persian or Arabic. So we have a lot of words like that that then transfer and go over to different languages too. So there are words that are in Indonesian or Swahili that are the same in Macedonian, which is a Slavic language. And it's quite funny how these languages have sent words around. This is one of the reasons why I love the languages of that part of the world, because it's really been a sort of a place that's just transferred into Europe and over into Asia and Africa. It's just incredible. I can teach you Kazakh without any efforts. Wow, that would be very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Muslim Kodarov. Yep, feel free to reach out to me and send me a message. I'd be very interested in learning Kazakh. Absolutely. Have you learned Tagalog? It's interesting to see Spanish connection, for example. Dangerous is napaka delicado. Wow, really? Now, I've not studied Tagalog. So, I mean, I know there are some similarities with Indonesian that I've seen when I've seen some, particularly some of the numbers I saw. But I haven't studied Tagalog. Another one, I mean, there's so many languages I'd like to study. But yes, I'd love to. Proche, pardon. Oh, pas de problème. As a polyglot, What do you think are the 5 most difficult languages? 5 most difficult languages. It depends on the language or languages you speak. So there isn't an easy answer to that question. I know it sounds good for a video or for a soundbite or for clicking on a thing to say the hardest languages in the world are, and you say, or the easiest languages are, but it really depends. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to be boring and explain why. So as an English speaker, it is challenging to learn something that's going to have a different alphabet, very different sounds, and very different grammar, just because you've got to change the way you think completely. So learning languages that are more similar is going to be easier. But the same thing goes for somebody who's a speaker of Korean or Arabic or something else. Their languages that they find easy are going to be also languages that have got things in common, whether it's they're related or they have had a lot of history in common with neighboring countries. Take Korean, for example. Korean is called a language isolate. Koreanic languages or language family, where you've got Korean and then the other variations that people agree or disagree on in the region, and I'm not going to go into that. But Korean itself, as a language, has a number of Sino words, like Chinese words. So for a Korean speaker or a Chinese speaker, they're going to have a lot of free vocabulary when they learn each other's languages, which helps, even though the languages are not related. And that's true, for example, for speakers of Macedonian. When they learn Turkish, they find it easier because they have all of these words without trying. And so it makes it easier to learn than, say, for example, a Croat. A Croat would have more difficulty learning Turkish, even though Croatian and Macedonian are quite similar languages. They would find it harder to learn because they don't have the Turkic vocabulary in the same way as we have it in Macedonian. So a lot of it depends on where you're coming from. Learning Celtic languages, if you speak a Celtic language, it's easier to understand the workings of another Celtic language potentially as well. Same thing with any language, pick a language, any language. I mean, that's why it's very difficult to answer that question. What's the hardest? What's the easiest? As an English speaker, I would say the closest language to English is Scots. So Scots probably would be, in terms of trying to get to grips with it and understand it, is going to be the easiest language. But, and this is a big but, it's easier in the fact that just by sheer linguistic similarity in terms of where it is on the language family tree, right? But there aren't as many materials to learn Scots. And if you were to speak to a Scots speaker, very often they're going to speak in Scottish English. So they will change their language because they're very used to code switching. So actually, it could be harder. So you could find that another language that's a little bit further away might be easier. So there are a lot of factors going into this whole what's easy, what's hard, because how often can you use it, and can you use it with speakers of the language? That also adds into the complexity of answering that question in a decent way. I've just opened up a huge can of worms, I know, and I'm sorry that I didn't give you a very straight answer. The easiest language by far for you to learn is the one that you're most interested in and the one you spend most time with. That's a genuine answer that is true for this question, no matter where you're from. Because if you are genuinely interested in learning it and you spend a lot of time with it, it's going to be easier than a language that you're not interested in and want to learn and spend time with. I think that's going to be my best short answer for that after my very long-winded answer. Okay. Okay, I've been following you on Instagram and I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel. Thank you very much. You can write me a message then if you are on Instagram. YouTube is a bit weirder with messages, but Instagram I get messages. So yeah, you can definitely do that. The easiest way by far, I mean, I mean, I can't answer every single question, every message, because otherwise, I mean, I would not have time to live, breathe, or work. Unfortunately, as much as I love it, I mean, I do like doing these lives, and that's a really nice way to answer questions live. But I do get a lot of messages from people asking questions about language learning privately, and I don't tend to reply to them all because, first of all, it would take me forever to do it. And I had somebody write to me actually recently about a language learning question. I said, please do put it forward to a live for one of the Sundays, and I'm very happy to answer it because I just think it doesn't make sense for me to replying to every individual person. Apart from anything, I wouldn't have time to do it. It would be impossible. Um, you know, if that's also one of the reasons why I set up Patreon, so that it would help to sort of, at least I could then look at dedicating some more time to helping individuals, because otherwise I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't have any time to work or do anything else if I didn't do that. I've been watching your videos for a long time, and and the time you met Tim Donor, probably. Yes, wow, thank you for that. Wow, yeah, Tim Donor, he's such a good guy. He's such a nice person to be around. I spoke to him actually earlier this year, I think it was. We had a conversation. He's so easy to be around as well. I love your genuine answer about the easiest language to learn the motivation. It's fine. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you liked my answer. I always feel a bit mean when I have a really long answer, but I just don't. There's no point telling you nonsense when I know it's nonsense. It's like, why would I do that? I admire you. Like, I'm 17 years old and I have no money to pay you for your Patreon, but I'll be able to spend time with you. Hope someday I'll have money. Are you an inspiration for me? Listen, you can always fill out the form to join me. I have people who join my groups and they don't pay me. I don't expect to be paid by everyone. I want to help people who want genuine help from me, and I don't. Yeah, money's not necessarily the priority for me. I aim to help as many people as I can in as real a way as I possibly can. And if I think I can help you, fill out the form. It's a little bit outdated. It's in the YouTube description. So I still linked it, I think. I just copied and pasted it, and then I realized, and I just left it in. But yeah, please do fill it out if you want to, and I will, even though the whole deadline's passed and stuff, if I see people writing to work with me, and you want to work with me and you don't have a salary or anything like that, or you can't afford for whatever reason to donate anything for my time, and still I would absolutely care more for helping you than if I see that's what. One thing I've got to say is I don't necessarily give people lessons. So I did have people asking me to teach them English, and I don't teach English. Um, it's a complicated story for me in English, but I don't teach English. Oh, don't cry. It's really, you're very, very welcome to do that. Please do reach out, and I'll be very, very happy to do that. Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think because I don't mind speaking English, and I actually have qualified to teach English, um, but I just don't know. I like other languages so much, and English has already got a lot of people teaching it, and it doesn't really give me a lot of joy teaching people English. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I think it's because it's everywhere, and so I know that people are getting a lot of their needs met by English already from many, many places, and so it's possibly not my space. English is a good tool to communicate for me. So I recognize that and I accept that, and I'm fine speaking English. Um, and I also really like the language. I think English is a really interesting language. I love the etymology. I love a lot about English, but I don't necessarily want to teach it. Other languages, I work in different ways. It depends on the language, but what I can do is I can help you as a whole. So, like, as in, I look at your situation, who you are, your motivations, what you want to do, and there are some people in the groups in these chats, and they might be able to answer as well. But that's kind of what I do, and I'm very, very happy to do that. I enjoy doing that. I actually get an awful lot from the people in the groups. They're wonderful, wonderful people, and I really enjoy the time that we spend together. Oh, Tiffany, thank you. You're worth it. You enjoy the time each week. I really enjoy having you in the group, Tiffany. You're fantastic. Have I been to Azerbaijan? No, but I'd love to go to Baku. I'd love to go and see Baku. I've got this thing about Baku. Also, there are three countries in Europe I have not been to yet. Okay, and some of you are going to laugh because it's like ridiculous. So, I've not been to Armenia, I've not been to Azerbaijan, and I've not been to Montenegro, which is nuts. Montenegro is like not far, but yeah, I've not been. Otherwise, I've been to every single country in Europe. A couple of the ones that are not unilaterally recognized by every country in the world, I've not been to. So I've not been to Transnistria. I've not been to some places, but I have been to every other country in Europe. I'm very lucky, but I've lived in like 9 countries, so and all over Europe. So I mean, it's not that I travel a lot because yeah, it's because I've lived in many countries, so they've been very close to visit. Baku's on my traveling list. Yeah, me too. I'd love to. Montenegro, gosh, I can't believe it. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Sven, I know what you mean. I almost went, like over Easter, I almost went, and in the end, I decided not to because I was in Albania, and I decided I wanted to visit more of Albania instead of crossing off another country on my list of countries that I'd been to. I have been to, I had been to all but 7 countries in Europe by accident, and I didn't realize that I'd done that until somebody asked me how many countries and which countries I'd been to, and then I I went through, and then I realized I'd actually not been to 7 European countries. One was Cyprus and one was Malta, and I wanted to go to those countries anyway. So I had like holidays, like proper holidays in those countries. Now I've been to like Cyprus like 3 times since then. Malta I love, and I could absolutely like spend more time in Malta. And then the other one was Belarus. I'd not been to Minsk and or Belarus at all, and I had fancied going, but they required a visa, and it was quite difficult to organize a visa. But then they stopped the visa regime, and so I made a trip for 5 days from Warsaw by plane, and it wasn't that expensive to go. I got a good deal, and Minsk was lovely. The people were very nice to me. So yeah, I mean, slowly but surely, I kind of brought these 7 countries down to 3, and here I am now. I've got these 3 countries in Europe, and I think now I've got to the point, even though I'm not a big knock off all of the countries in the world type person, that's just not me. But now that I've got 3 in Europe, it does feel like quite a cool thing to be able to say I've been to all the countries in Europe. I don't know. I mean, it feels a bit childish, but also at the same time, I can't ignore that I do feel it might be quite nice to be able to do that. Yeah. Do you think children who can't write should learn languages like 5-year-olds? Children that can't write? I'm not sure what the question is really on this. I think that children that can't write. I mean, do you mean like older children that can't write, learning like 5-year-olds? I'm not quite sure what you mean, so I want to make sure I understand it first before I answer the question. Do you take political issues into account when visiting any of the countries you'd like to travel to? I think I've had enough experience in countries to know that the people don't necessarily they're not represented necessarily by the people that govern them. So not going to a country just on those grounds, I don't know. It would really depend on the country and what's going on. But sometimes, especially if countries don't get many people going in and you're taking money to spend in their shops, for example. I don't know. I think it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Depends what you're doing, and you know, there's responsible tourism as well, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm not. Look, I mean, I'm not some sort of millionaire going out spending lots of money either. But I appreciate your question, and it's a good one to ask. But yeah, I mean, as I say, I've lived in places where this is a really difficult thing to decide. Really difficult, because as I say, not everyone. I mean, you know, not everyone believes in the same things that the government says or the people in power decide, right? And they still have businesses and lives to live, and they rely on people going and frequenting their cafes, their restaurants, their shops, buying books. Particularly, one thing I like to do is buy books in languages, because I like to support the authors. And sometimes you can only do that in the country. Is it tempting not to support the political situation? Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, if you don't, I mean, I think if you have very strong feelings on a particular country and its political system, then I think as an individual you have to make that decision and feel comfortable with it. Absolutely. I mean, I can respect people for their different opinions and decisions on these things. I think it's very grey in a lot of cases. That's all I'll say. I think it can be very grey. Um, yeah, I'm glad you like the answer. Um, Uh, I know Aslan. He's from yes, Aslan's great. I did say to Aslan that I want to visit him in Baku, and he said that he'd love to have me over and meet with me and maybe do something as well. Yeah, he's lovely. I've had a few video calls with him, and I always enjoy speaking to Aslan. Um, Let me see. I'm going to jump over to YouTube and check out the questions on there again, because I'm conscious that a lot more have been coming in there while I've been talking and answering the Instagram ones. Remember to like the video if you haven't liked it already. YouTube, I've got more people on YouTube now than I have likes, so please do like it and show me your love on Instagram and on YouTube. I appreciate it. Let me see. Thank you so much for the hearts. I love it. I am going to potentially try and go live on what's it called, on TikTok at some point. So I'm building up TikTok slowly but surely, but it's taking a long time. If you're on TikTok and you want to follow me, please do. You can encourage me by following me. I've got much bigger audiences on the other social media platforms than on TikTok at the moment, which I think normally for TikTokers is like the other way around. But for me, it's that way around. But yeah, I will definitely. Yes, you've got the right Aslan there. Mamadzade, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let me see. Okay, Kazakh is Turkish. Yes, it is. Okay. Wow, I think I have my word. I've got more questions on here than I thought. Okay. Aha, Türkçeniz çok güzel. Tebrik ederim. Çok teşekkür ederim. Çok naziksin, evet. Ben bu arada Türkçe her gün değil ama çok sık kullanıyorum çünkü burada Üsküp'te, evet, Türkçe'de hem Türkçe hem Arnavutça hem Makedonca hem başka dili anlıyoruz ve kullanıyoruz. Bilmiyorum şimdi. Ama evet, evet, teşekkür ederim. Ben bu arada öğrendim. Çünkü Yunus Emre Enstitüsü'nde birkaç kurs yaptım ve bundan sonra evet, sadece insanlarla eee, konuşmaya başladım. Um, okay, my summer will be in Hungary. Oh wow, Inga! From there, you will take a trip Romania, Bulgaria, and Turkey. Inga, that's so cool. I love it. I say cool. It's going to be really hot. So cool though that you're doing it. Do you like reading certain books on certain holidays? For example, like reading A Christmas Carol in German by Charles Dickens on Christmas? Short answer, JR, no. I'd love to pretend that I do, but I don't. I tend to simply, I mean, my biggest thing that I like to read is like news or factual stuff, generally, or listening to things about factual things. Like I like science, I like history, I like hearing about lots of stuff like that. Things that I know a lot less about than other people. I'd love to hear about things like that in different languages as well. But I did buy lots of books. Some of you on, if you've seen this on Twitter, I might be boring. So I bought some books. We have the Skopje book fair at the moment, and I went and I bought a number of books in my home language, just actually Macedonian authors. So I bought these books in Macedonian, and two of them are classics, well described as classics, and the rest are more recent authors, current authors. So I bought those, and I hope I'm going to get to read them. I'm terrible. I tend to buy things and then sometimes I don't get to read them all. But yeah. And then I bought two books in Albanian. I bought The Little Prince finally in Albanian. I also bought L'étranger in Albanian because I saw it and it just reminded me of school, because I read L'étranger at school, and I love just being reminded of things like that from my past. So I bought it in Albanian. So yeah, they're the ones I bought. I also bought some Albanian books in Albania as well. I got this one, which is one of my favorite books. I have this book in lots of languages. This is Wonder in Albanian, and oh no, this is in Greek. The Albanian one's here. I have it in Greek. Yeah, here we go. I bought this one. There we go. I was wondering why it wasn't looking very much like Albanian, and it's because it was Greek. So I got this one in Albanian, and I got this in Albanian, the Diary of Anne Frank, because I'd never read it in Albanian before. So yeah. But oops, lazy. Let's see. But yeah, this book, for example, I love the story of this is Falma in Greek and Mrakulia in Albanian. So I Wonder in English. This book I have in lots of languages, actually. Wonder. I just like the story a lot. I find it very heartwarming. So yes, there we go. What's something you wish you had known before you started learning languages? I want to learn French. That it takes time, that even people who learn lots and lots of languages and take time over and like seem to just learn them very quickly, they take time learning languages too. And that's kind of why I talked at the Polyglot Gathering about how long does it take to learn a language. It really it takes that time to internalize a language. There's no way around it. If you learn a language that's similar to a language you speak, you can seemingly speak it quite quickly. But if you don't practice it, it goes away very quickly too. And I've had that myself. And with like languages like Slovak and stuff, it goes away as quickly as it came. But also, if I could go back here, that's kind of the message I would send, is that it takes time each time. You think you crack it with one language and you get there, or you think you have, and then you see the other levels to it as well. And also, yeah, it's a long process, but a fun one. A fun one. It's good. Harry, good to see you. How's it going? Yeah, doing well, thank you, Rasmus. Douglas, do you know Russian? He does. Timothy knows everything. I think Timothy knows everything. Since you naturally make connections between words, like you said, do you think things like link is really good for learning a language? So yeah, I mean, look, there isn't a one good for learning languages. What works for me might not work for you. What works for someone else might not work for me, etc., etc. If you enjoy picking material up, or you enjoy listening to things, you enjoy engaging the material, then it's good. If you don't and you get frustrated, and you have to be very honest with yourself about being frustrated with it, then it's not. So link can be good for you, but also you may not enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, it's fine to not enjoy it. It's absolutely fine to not enjoy it. I've listened to all of the link stories in all of the languages except for Cantonese, all the way through, all of them. And I found it really useful. particularly listening to Belarusian and Ukrainian, because I've never studied those languages before. And Ukrainian, I've done now, what, 4 or 5 days, maybe a week of Ukrainian. I had a bit of a lapse because of an accident, but otherwise, yeah, it's it can be very, very good. It can be useful. Is it the be all and end all for everything? I think other things help with the learning process too, personally. But I do think it's a useful tool. Yeah. Pennsylvanian Dutch should sound like Pennsylvanian Dutch. Yeah, the languages Amish people and yeah, Plautdeutsche. Okay, is the language of the Mennonites. Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, interesting one actually, because I've heard, because you have like Texan German as well. You have like so many of these different ones. The Mennonites, though, that's an interesting type variation. Actually, I've heard that spoken in a documentary, and I found it really interesting. Классно, да. Я говорю по-русски. Да, конечно, Timothy говорит по-русски. Is Kazakh a Turkic language? It is indeed, Alphonse. I went to Kazakhstan in 2019, and yes, they are amazing, apparently, switching their script from Cyrillic to Latin. Yes, I heard that as well. Richard had books in Z. I don't even know what you mean there, Timothy. Okay, in Z. What's the English? Okay, I saw that one. I had books in Romanian, Portuguese, Spanish, and shells for 16 years. Wow, Timothy. Yeah, and that's fine. I think it's fine to have them and keep them. Absolutely fine. Greetings from Germany. I wonder if you mentioned you want to try to learn Manx. Any news on that front? Lucas, I would love to learn Manx. So kind of, I may have mentioned this before, but my plan for retirement was to learn the Celtic languages and to study them. That was my retirement plan. And because of COVID, it came forward quite a lot. And I started learning Cornish and Scottish Gaelic and Irish. And I've not gone back to Manx or started Manx properly. I've looked at Manx before, but I've not started it properly yet. And I haven't gone back to it yet, simply because I think I need to get my Irish and all my Scottish Gaelic to a decent level before I go back to it. Otherwise, I'm just going to get very confused. The languages are super similar in a lot of ways, and I think I'll just end up speaking a weird mishmash. And I don't want to do that, because speaking Irish is already it takes a lot of time for me. I've been doing it for what, 6 months, 3 times a week, and I'm probably around an A1-ish level. Yeah, roughly. So yeah. Thank you so much for showing good books for learning languages. We rarely find resources to learn. Yeah, Flavio, you're welcome. Deutsch, Deutsch. Yeah, it's all very similar with the words for Deutsch and Dutch. In fact, it's the same word in terms of origins. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting though. There was Low Dutch, Niederdeutsch, yeah, Hydra, yeah. I can see all the conversations about this now. I love it. Since people have different personalities in different languages, do you polyglots have multiple personalities? Ehud, I don't have different personalities in different languages at all. I'm the same me in every language I speak. I don't subscribe to the different personalities, different languages idea. Some people say that they do, and I will leave them to speak for themselves. I can only speak for me, and I don't at all, in any way, shape, or form, feel that my personality changes. There are things that change. Topics I can talk about freely and openly from one language to another because of cultural sensitivities and cultural norms. That's one thing. That's not my personality, though. I still find the same silly things funny because of my silly British humor. So I can't stop that or change that. It's very difficult to take that out of me. The other thing that I would say is that how people perceive me through the lens of their culture in their language is different. So I might seem more serious to one group of people, more ridiculous, a bit of a fool to others. I might seem pessimistic or more optimistic to certain people, just based on the language use and who I am as a person. So, and that goes not just for languages and countries, but also within countries and within similar linguistic groups. So, yeah, but I don't change personality. My personality is what you see is what you get. I don't change that in any language. And yeah, much to the chagrin sometimes of people around me, because there are things about my personality I think have been shaped by my experiences living in different countries. So I tend to be quite straightforward about things. So if I don't like something, I'm very comfortable and happy to say I don't like it. And that comes from working and living in Germany and the Netherlands, because just I don't like it, so there's no point pretending. Doesn't mean I'm going to be rude about it, but I will say if I don't like something, and I'm not afraid of saying that. Whereas the Britishness in me, from my upbringing, would have kind of made me be a bit more uncomfortable with that, but I no longer feel uncomfortable. So languages have shaped who I am today, and living in cultures and countries has shaped who I am. But and they also shape maybe if I rein something in or hold something back because I know it's not culturally appropriate, then yes, I will do that because I want to try and speak the language in its cultural context. But I would absolutely, definitely say that my personality is what you get in any language is the same. It's just how you perceive it might be different. Yeah. Is that controversial to say that? I don't know, but that's honestly how I feel. I always found it very odd when people said to me that they change personalities. I always find it very weird, and I don't know whether it's they feel that their tongue loosens because they're speaking another language, or because the different culture allows for a different way of communication, and so they're allowed to express a different part of their personality in a different way. And I always wondered whether or not that was what they were talking about. Because in terms of like personal, I mean, I don't change my personality at all. No. I'm glad you like the answer. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. Richard said no in the past. Yes. Arabic is hard for English speakers, but it's easy for me because I speak similar language to Arabic. Mosul, very fantastic for you. I would love to speak good Arabic. That would be fantastic. What's Tim Donor doing now? He's in the US, I think. I mean, it's been a while since. So as I say, it was like at the start of the year, so it's been a while. So I'm not quite sure. He might put something out somewhere, I'm sure, but I don't know. He was finishing up his studies, I think, when I spoke to him last. But as in like where he now exactly is in the US, can't quite remember. I'd have to get in touch with him again. We don't speak that often. We speak periodically, and if I go to the US, I let him know that I'm going to go, so that if we've got a chance of meeting up. And that's worked a few times actually. And last time I went to New York, it didn't work, but the time before it did, and we met up for a meal. My mother tongue is Somali, Afro-Asiatic language, and Amharic, Semitic language. Oh wow, Mazal. So nice. Very nice, Somali. Yeah, I'd love. Richard been loving Brazilian Portuguese. Yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying Brazilian Portuguese. Yeah, Brazilian Portuguese is fun. How good is your okay, that's not for me. My Amharic's like non-existent. Richard, how do you practice vocabulary? Just by using it, really, by reading, by sometimes writing, sometimes reading, writing, speaking, listening, and then making an effort to use it if I want to incorporate it into my normal speech, my active vocabulary. Would you consider making a video with a language bookshelf tour? I have seen your old one. I love seeing other people's collections. Inga, I would. I have made a couple, yeah, but I'd be very happy to do that. Absolutely, yeah. I love books, so yeah, I'd be very happy to do that. Yeah. All my books are not in one place, which is a bit frustrating sometimes for this, but I would definitely do it. The audio is low for me. I don't know what to do about the audio being low. A couple of you said that, but some people have said that it's fine. So I have no idea what to say or do. Please go to Transnistria and have a nice Soviet experience to show us. Let Bolden bankrupt. What? I don't understand what you mean, Svetlana. I'm not gonna go to Transnistria at the moment. I'm also curious about Portuguese. Yeah, that sounds like a cool language, Richard. How hard is it for you to learn Portuguese? How hard was it to learn Portuguese? What do you think about the Brazilian accent? So I studied Portuguese at university. I already spoke Spanish and French, and I knew some Italian and Catalan and stuff before I learned Portuguese. So it wasn't crazy for me to learn, just to communicate in Portuguese. And I studied European Portuguese at university, and then later I went to Brazil and I converted my Portuguese to a more Brazilian pronunciation. It's somewhere in between the two now, I guess. But I like both. But I do like Brazilian Portuguese. I like Brazil. I think Brazilian. I had such a good time in Brazil. It's like I have 4 countries that I absolutely adore. One is Brazil. My experiences in Brazil were so positive. Like they were positive, and then there's like super positive because of the people and the food and whatever. One is Brazil. One is Botswana. Another one is Indonesia, and the other one is Mexico. I love all 4 of those countries so much. So yeah, I mean, that's my opinion of Brazil and Brazilian Portuguese and everything is like super positive. Yeah. Przepraszam, mówię trochę po polsku. Dobrze? Okay. What happened to your videos of your Asian languages? I don't know which ones. So I haven't taken anything down. So I did I did the Indonesian thing. I did some Chinese many years ago as well at university in Sweden. Did I do any others? I did a little bit of Japanese before I went to the Polyglot conference in Fukuoka, and I've done a little bit of Korean, but my Korean's terrible. Not that the other ones are particularly good either. I mean, they're all pretty. They're not. None of them are amazing, but yeah. I would certainly use okay. TikTok, yeah, TikTok. Laugh. Yeah, I'm not going to do any dancing. Just so you know, if you subscribe to me, it's not going to make me dance. I'm never going to do that. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see me dance. How good is your? That's not for me. Easy. I love that you're all talking to each other. That's so nice. Would you say what time it takes to higher levels in languages or hard study focused? So it's difficult when you say time. It's how much you're doing it, how intensively you're doing it, I think is the important thing. And how many hours you're spending a week. So someone could say, oh, I learned Japanese in a year, and they spent 8 hours a day for a year learning it in a very intensive way. Then somebody could have studied Japanese for a year as well, but they did 3 hours a week. Well, of course, you can't compare 3 hours a week with 8 hours a day. It's like different planets. It's not even similar in any way. So yeah, there's not an easy answer to that question. Which is kind of what I said at the gathering, but you'll see that video soon. They'll release it at some point, I guess. Richard, have you read some Brazilian literature like Machado de Assis? No, I've not read that. I've not read anything by that person. No. Wonder is a great book. It is a great book. It is a great book. I love Wonder so much. Anne Frank's Diary is amazing. Yes, I agree. When I lived in the Netherlands, I went to Anne Frank's house several times with visitors. They used to always want to go and visit, and I used to go a lot, so I got to know the house quite well. And the whole story, everything behind it, I used to go quite a lot. Yeah. Your channel is a place where we can practice the languages we learn. Thanks a lot. You're very welcome, Flavio. I love that you're practicing your languages here. Firstly, don't compare mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Secondly, you actually wrote the sentences great, perfectly fantastic. Yes. For the record, I have slightly different personalities in different languages. We talked about humor already, and perceptions are a good point. Thank you. It is interesting that you perceive that. I'm as I say, I'm never going to say to somebody if you perceive that, that's entirely your perception, and that's valid. We're all entitled to have different views and opinions and thoughts and feelings on these things, and I definitely invite differences. I much prefer just talking. So yeah, So I'd be interested to know. I'd be interested to know how you feel it's different, how you feel your personality is different. If you're happy to explore that further. I think you ended up saying yes. Let me see. I don't think I changed personality to present myself. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting on the personality stuff. Thank you, Inga. Tinder is getting his master. Yeah, I think he was getting his master. He was getting to the end of that when I last spoke to him, I think. I'm trying to learn my girlfriend's native language Czech, and it's proving quite difficult. Any recommendations with this and how to practice with her? Oh, George, that is a long answer. And I think, unfortunately, not one that I'm going to get to today, but what I'm going to do, I'm not sure I can answer all of that in the time I have, because I've got well over the hour. But that's a really good question, actually, George. And I think it's a question that I'd like to take forward to another day, if that's okay. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to all of your questions. Well, I know I didn't get to all of your questions. Unfortunately, I mean, I left more time this week to get more questions in, and I didn't get to them all, and I'm very aware of that. I will do my very, very best to get through as many as I can every week. And as I say, if you have very specific things, feel free to hit me up on Patreon, and I will be in touch with you personally. If you're not subscribed and you want to make sure you don't miss what I'm doing online, feel free. You can subscribe, follow me here, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want. And I'm very happy to be in touch. You can interact with me. I put things out most days. And no, I don't know Bald and Bankrupt. A collab with him. Oh, it's a person. Okay, no, I don't. Do people in Botswana speak Setswana correctly? Oh, yeah, they spoke Setswana, so that's what they were speaking. I got loads, actually. Before I go, this is just because I love Botswana so much. I bought books. Again, me and my books. I know, right? So where are they? I think they're these ones. Let me just check. Okay. Oh my word. Okay. So I got look at this. As I say, I buy books like to support stuff because I like to buy these things. So I got this one, and then I got, let's see, I got this one, Setswana, which I got also in Botswana, which is cool. And then these ones are actually in Hosa. I got these ones in Hosa from South Africa. These are like storybooks, which are cool. And I also got a picture dictionary for Setswana, and I got this little one as well. And then, of course, I did pick up some books in Afrikaans as well. So I got this one on history, Afrikaans, in Afrikaans for school students, and also I got this Afrikaans handbook and study guide thing, and none of them have been opened, which is dreadful. But I had the very best of intentions when I bought them. Promise. Anyway, I should disappear now and get back to my evening, and also catch up with my Ukrainian. So I will very much look forward to speaking to you again next week. Same time, same place. And please feel free to reach out with any thoughts, questions, or anything you have ahead of time. I'm happy to try and get to answer as many of the questions as much as I possibly can. And as ever, thank you so much for keeping me company this evening. It's been a pleasure, as ever, to talk to you all. And thank you for all of your questions, all of your interactions, all of your good wishes. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. And look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye, and happy language learning.